Hi. It was a struggle, and I guess it's through this struggle that it became for me quite important to give support to women who come into motherhood and face the breastfeeding experience. Anna was born little. She was 5 pounds 1, and I was kept in hospital for 5 days just to, measure that she was putting on weight and stuff. But she was so little, she wouldn't be able to actually feed from the breast. So yeah, it was hard because when she was born, they wanted to put a tube and feed her that way, and I had to kind of be quite firm, and in a moment where you feel so vulnerable and so really vulnerable, and I had 3 doctors come and tell me you have to put a tube into her and so that she feeds. She had a difficult birth, and what I said, it was like, if I want her to breastfeed, then I need a tube won't help, and because she was 37 weeks and a half, she would have the gag reflex and it would hurt her, and I just wasn't happy with that, but they made it quite difficult. In the end, I gave her a little cup for the first kind of even a week maybe. I had to express, and all this is, they say every 3 hours, but really it takes an hour itself to kind of wake them up. You have to change a nappy or something to wake Anna up. She was so little, she was wanting to just sleep. I don't know, you express, you try to give her the breast, you give her the cup, and then go back to sleep. It's like 40 minutes till you start again. So Anna was in the hospital for those 5 first days, and I think that was hard, but I think when I came back home and I tried to breastfeed her, slowly transition to breastfeeding her, it was it hurt a lot. And I felt agony every time she had to feed. Obviously she fed a lot, and every time it was like this kind of fear coming, and it was Christmas, and there were not many support groups that were open, and some of them were a bit far away, and there was snow. I was just afraid to kind of go in the car with her. I think it's kind of strange, because I remember thinking that if Anna woke up crying, I wouldn't be able to do anything. And I just felt really, helpless in a way, like it was kind of wrong. At the same time, you kind of go with it. It's like, oh, okay, I have to do all these other things. So at least I felt I had something to do. I expressed, that was something I could do. I think there's so many contradictions, because I was in a hospital, and being in the hospital, you're monitored, you're told. I had to measure her temperature every time. I had to tell them how long she took and how many millimeters, and it's all kind of measured every 3 hours. At the beginning, the midwife would not believe me that I would actually wake up and do this, and so would come up and stand next to me. I don't know, I just felt like there was this kind of regimented kind of feel to and some of them would like, okay, you have 5 minutes to try to see if it works breastfeeding. If not, you have to give her the cup. And I mean, really, that's not the most. It was obvious that wasn't going to happen then, like if I had 5 minutes. I mean, another midwife was like, oh my God, that's so good. She's kind of going near it, But it kind of made me feel a bit better, But the kind of 5-minute approach didn't work for me, and I think, obviously. So yeah, I think when things don't go, you kind of, I think women do their best, You just. But saying that, I think it helps to have that kind of I can be quite critical and questioning things, you know, so in the sense that I think I could have easily gone the way of bottle feeding if I wasn't quite strong-minded, you know, like, so it helped, because being 5 days in the hospital, being like told, she doesn't, when she started feeding a little bit, they would be like, if she doesn't feed 14 minutes, you have to give her a top-up, and I'm, you know, and it's like, when I came home, the midwives were quite nice and did quite, I think, quite a good job into saying, okay, we have to stop this, you don't need to monitor the times and the temperature, like, also they would say at the hospital it was like 35 degrees and it's quite hot, I don't know if you remember that, and they said, oh, you have to have skin to skin, but Anna was covered in clothes and even a woolen hat in 40 degrees, so obviously, I mean, how do you do the skin to skin? You feel you're going to make them cold. I don't know, it's just little things that now I think, I'm like, that made it quite hard, you know, to make it. And also people opening the door every 2 minutes. They like to have a room, but you know, that's kind of what hospitals do. And I think kind of whatever goodness they have, they also undermine some of these things that need to be in place. You know? I am quite determined, and I think I had the support of my family, which I think that really counts. At some point they were like, you know, it won't be, it's okay to give up, because it was so painful. They saw me struggling, and I just, I did, when I had thrush, at kind of almost 6 weeks, I thought, I mean, this is not getting get better, it's getting worse, and this is ridiculous, you know. And I thought, if I don't get sorted this in like the next week, I will go to formula. But luckily, like, somebody spotted it was thrush, and then things got better. I mean, maybe it was a 6-week turning point, she was a bit bigger, who knows what it was, but it kind of worked. But I did consider it, and I mean, my family were supportive of my decision to breastfeed. I think what was the lack was that she was born early, so I kind of, you know, I had read things and I have many other people's experience, but I didn't know what to do when the baby was little, you know, like special circumstances in a way. And there wasn't any, I would have wanted a space where I could just go and breastfeed. It's a different, and every time somebody new came, there was no continuity, you know, like I had different people, and one was nice and one wasn't, and one told me one thing and the other one told me another thing. So I think that's what's lacking, is somebody that goes through with you in that journey, and also other mothers that maybe have gone through it, and that is, you know, something that is available not just 10 to 12 on a Wednesday, you know, because at that moment you kind of really need the support, even daily sometimes, or at different times. And I think once I became a mother and I made different choices, I realized the importance of finding your pack, you know, finding your place and the community. That's kind of crucial to feel better, you know. There's many aspects of it. First, I mean, you're literally open in half, you know, like you gave birth, you have this separation thing of, I mean, opening yourself to give birth to somebody, another person, is something big, you know. I can't underestimate that. I think physically and spiritually it is that you're kind of turning into two, and that's something that you have to be, you have to be open to give birth. You need to, you know, open in every sense. And that stays that way. And also, you could say hormonally, that there's a whole physical aspect to it. Like, obviously hormones are there, and they are there to connect with this other child, and to connect to that child. You need to be absorbing, you know, every little detail, and be very mindful of not just, you don't go to the level of the head, if you want to say it that way. You kind of connect in every sensory and your instinct. I don't even have the words to even say it, but I think because you're so aware, and because, I mean, it could be hormones, it could be many things, but I think it's a combination of things that make you really sensitive to things, which, I mean, I think is probably biologically important that happens, but it's also not something that is given a lot of space I think in our society, like, or time for that to happen. You know, like it's a moment that it needs to be just to protect in a way. No? It's an essential part for me for having breastfed. I think it's biologically, and also I don't know. It's a very strong sense it's a moment where you have to kind of take the time to do that. You know, you have to connect with your child. I mean, if you breastfeed, that's the way. It's a big way of doing that. You know, you're skin to skin. You have to take the time. You have to stop everything. You have to concentrate on what's happening. You know, it's kind of a big part of that moment of connection and openness. And because when things don't go well, I mean, you need to be especially mindful of different things. It's like getting to know somebody new. You know, you pay attention to every detail, every way of being, or what would work and what wouldn't. And that's something that you put your whole energy into that at that moment. If you put your energy elsewhere, then that will take from that, I think. I think breastfeeding has to be given that time, especially when you give birth, for that reason. I think it's interesting because in a normal breastfeeding relationship where everything is going well, that doesn't make any sense to keep sense of the time. Like, there's things will happen, the baby will demand, and you will just respond to that demand, and that won't come every 2 hours. So it might be 1 hour and a half, it might be 3 hours. You know, it's life. We are not machines that feed at certain times, and I think trust. I think it's a question of trust, not following that clock. It's a question of, okay, you have to trust the baby to know what they need, and they do know. They ask, you know, in many different ways. And as we all know, crying is the last resort. There's many ways of communicating. But I think it's interesting, the timekeeping, when things, as you said before, are not completely right. You know, like, because I had that philosophy at the beginning, but they said you have to wake her up because she's so little, she wants to sleep, and then she won't eat, and then she will be more sleepy, and then, you know, it's kind of a cycle. So there's moments, or maybe timekeeping might be important, but for most of the relationship, I think that's breastfeeding. It just takes you to a different time zone, and motherhood, I would say, does that too. It's like you live in circular time, in little bursts of you know, you feed and they sleep and then you change them and then you start again, and it's like all through the night and the day, and it's just a different time zone. You don't know about what time of day the day goes by, you know, when you become a mother. That's why I said I couldn't get out of the door before 12 o'clock. It just felt like, oh, I kind of haven't had a shower today, you know, and what do you have to do? Everybody's like, if you look from the outside, from a notion of linear time in a way, of being used to kind of, you know, working and, okay, I'll do this half an hour and then I'll finish that and then do this and this. It doesn't look like you're doing anything because you just change the baby and feeding them, but that takes you all day and all night. So I think it's, in terms of time, it's like you, as I said, you enter a different time zone, so you're keeping that linear time in that other time is, for me, detrimental in most circular time is exactly that. When you have a sense of progression, like you set yourself to do something in an hour. So okay, I'll finish this report. So you you sit down and you write it and you finish it, and then you have something at the end. You have a kind of an output, and then you have something else to do, and it's kind of, and you keep to the clock. You keep. Well, I think when I'm in circular time, things get blurry, and it's repetitive, and it doesn't stop at night. For example, that's what we are used to. Kind of we finish at 5, 6, 7, whatever, you finish working and then you do something else. This is not, so...
Is it a different kind of working? I mean, is the idea of it being work even relevant? Is it, in terms of our definition of work, is it work even?
What?
Motherhood or... Yeah.
It depends what you mean by work, but... Yeah.
In terms of an allotted task which you have to accomplish and complete.
It is and it isn't, I would say. It is something that has to be done. That is so loads of things that have to be done, but it's not. It's not targets, It's not about. You don't see the end product straight away. You might say this is an investment, whatever. You can consider that I'm doing this because this means that the child will feel safe and secure. Well, you don't have a clue if that will happen or not. You're just changing nappies. It's very different from I have a finished report here. I have had a meeting about something. I think it is work of a different kind. Yeah, just something that changed with the season, that is slow, that is, you go with the needs of the physical and the different needs that the earth, for example, has, or a child has. Very different from what an industrial time, as you say, obviously that having to time keep and having to be accountable for that time because you're being paid for that time. Yeah.